Today, it is widely taken for granted that governments ought to offer various forms of care for the weaker elements of society and structure their economies to minimize poverty. But how and when did these priorities become the norm? The answer draws us back to the ancient saga of the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. Founded in 509 BCE, the Roman Republic was history's first representative democracy. Its citizens elected administrative bodies that ruled the state. That sounds progressive, but the Republic was structurally biased against its common citizens. The Republic was dominated by a Senate, operated by elite nobility, known as patricians, from the Latin word for fathers. All other citizens were called plebeians, or simply plebs, regular non-privileged people, and they operated a plebeian council with significantly lesser powers. Inequality was aggravated when the Republic captured vast territories and enslaved foreign populations. The nobility seized the land, along with the enormous slave force of captives, denying the ordinary plebs any share. This combination of free land and labor led to vast plantations for the elite, who then sold produce at greatly reduced prices, forcing plebeian farmers to abandon their small farms and denying jobs to Romans. The result was overcrowded cities filled with poor, unemployed citizens. Discontent simmered until, in the 2nd century BCE, two brothers rocked the foundations of Roman society. Tiberius Gracchus was elected to head the plebeian council, determined to improve the lot of his fellow commoners. His central policy was an agrarian law, enforcing the redistribution of conquered land that had been seized by the nobility. But the patrician Senate did not appreciate this legislation. The ensuing political crisis led to the murder of Tiberius and many of his supporters at the hands of a Senate-mobilized mob. Tiberius's brother Gaius tried to revive his slain brother's policies, but he met a similar bloody end. The patricians had stifled land ownership reform, but the strife unleashed by this conflict continued to ferment and eventually led to the collapse of the Roman Republic 1 century later. On the ruins of the Republic, the dictatorial Roman Empire arose. With their republic dead, ancient Roman historians analyzed its failures and arrived at a far-reaching conclusion. It was the fault of the Gracchi brothers' attempt to involve the government in economic reform. The Gracchi plan to level the playing field at the expense of the nobility's powerful monopoly had invited destabilizing class warfare. And therefore, all future governments must avoid legislation aimed at fair distributions of land or wealth at all costs. This way of thinking became an orthodoxy in political theory for the next millennia and a half. But in the 17th century, perspectives began to shift. The Renaissance and the Protestant Reformation led scholars to delve deeply into Jewish texts. The Hebrew Bible, its Jewish commentaries, the Talmud, Maimonides, Kabbalah, and Jewish history. One Dutch scholar, Petrus Cannaeus, born in 1586, made a compelling case for modeling contemporary European society on what he called the Hebrew Republic, the ancient civilization established by the Jews in the Holy Land based on the Torah's laws. He was fascinated by Yovel, the Jubilee laws, which guaranteed that each Jewish family would own land that would not be permanently removed or sold, even due to poverty. Cannaeus identified Yovel as the Torah's successful predecessor to Rome's failed agrarian law, and he therefore insisted that providing the poor with economic opportunity secured by land ownership was a golden key to the survival and success of a civilization. This was a radical argument, turning centuries of political thought on its head. Cannaeus's conclusion was enthusiastically adopted by the great English Republican, James Harrington. In his 1656 vision of the perfect republic, Harrington incorporated fair distribution as a vehicle to enable economic independence for all citizens as a key component. Harrington's writings fluttered across the Atlantic, heavily influencing the founding fathers of the United States. and especially Thomas Jefferson, the third American president. Jefferson turned these Torah-inspired ideals into a campaign to establish a fair republic by preventing the rise of an aristocracy. He abolished land ownership laws that concentrated land in the hands of the wealthy few and strove to establish free public education for all children, regarding educational opportunity as critical to economic opportunity. The rest is history. Government action to empower the poor and improve economic opportunity for all citizens is now unanimously accepted as integral to free, democratic society. But the route this idea traveled remains remarkable, from the Torah's concept of Yovel to its ancient Jewish implementation in the land of Israel, from the Talmud's exposition to Maimonides' codification of social laws, and then a great leap across cultures to Petrus Cuneus, the 17th century author of the Hebrew Republic, and further across the channel to English political theorist James Harrington, and further yet to American founding father Thomas Jefferson. And finally, from America to the wider world, social welfare and equal opportunity are remarkable gifts of the Jews.